Welcome back everybody to the Nomad Hedge. In today's video, it's all about Bitcoin, and we've seen a huge drawdown here for Bitcoin. So we're going to be taking a look at some key levels to watch here. It's going to be an interesting video, and if we've actually bottomed at current levels. So stick along, and if you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing, and let's get into the video. So one of the main things that we have to take a look at is obviously Bitcoin futures. And when I talk about Bitcoin futures, I don't refer to the perpetual market, the perps market. What I'm looking at is CME futures, right? So this is the futures where institutions like to play. And when we take a look at Bitcoin here, we're going to switch over to a daily chart. And so what we noticed during this upside move here is that BTC left an open auction right here at this level. So Bitcoin actually managed to cross above the 55. And then now we do have this huge drawdown here. And all of a sudden today, after, let's see how many months that was April 25, when Wave 2 primary bottomed, actually when the entire stock market bottomed back in April 8th, April 7th. I remember that very clearly. This auction here today has been closed, okay? And what's interesting about this level as well is that we are also hovering just above Wave 2 primary. And from an Elliott wave perspective, that typically means that if we would zoom out here, we can see here that we do have a wave 1-2 primary. But if Bitcoin manages to stay above this wave 2 primary right here, that means that we could set the stage now for an intermediate wave 1-2, right? So that only validates as long as we're staying above wave 2 primary. And what's interesting, obviously, is that we closed this auction here. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of upside bid, and there's also very interesting about this level as well. Just take a look at the RSI. This thing is very oversold. And we're also seeing the Fib ADX line, especially the minus DI. And so if we would plot a horizontal line right here, we can see these levels, whenever we're reaching levels like this, it typically signifies a short-term bottom or a long-term bottom. So that's very interesting. So we have the minus DI right there. We have the minus DI right here, which is this level, right? And then we have a few of them here. And so that's why we take a look at these levels. We actually measure them as good risk-reward areas, right? As long as we're staying above wave 2 primary right here, right, we could set the stage for another intermediate degree. So that's pretty huge. So going long here is absolutely very wise. I would say very, very wise. But we have to also consider this drawdown right here, okay? So if you want to play this as just as a trade, you could do it from here as well. When we take a look at this drawdown here, I find this move here very impulsive, right? So we can see here potentially that we have a 1-2, and then a subwave here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and potentially we have a wave 4 here, and then a wave 5. So that would actually conclude wave 1, 2, and we have a 3, 4, 5. Right at this auction here, and right above wave 2 primary. So not a coincidence, actually. Now, in fact, if this would be an impulsive move, that means that we could expect a corrective upside move here. All right, so if we would get on a corrective upside move, we could look at levels right here at the 233 EMA as potential resistance. Okay, so this would be an area of interest where Bitcoin could test before resuming lower. All right, either it would test this level and resume lower, or it would break out towards new all-time highs. So that's a huge possibility as well. So that is why, in order to understand what's happening, we can't really say what Bitcoin's going to do 2 or 3 weeks or months from now. What we can do is we can enter from the perspective of good risk reward, and then we'll wait and see. We'll take a look at, for instance, negative divergences, if we're getting a sell-off, or a MACD sell signal for that matter. Either case, whatever happens here, we want to be ready to sell again and perhaps enter a short position so we can ride Bitcoin down So that's how we're viewing BTC here on a daily chart. We're going to move over to a weekly, and we can see here that we're currently finding support at the 144 EMA on the weekly chart. So that's not typically a popular level or a significant level to find support. We're looking more at the 55 EMA or the 233 EMA. But anyhow, it could still bottom here considering where we are right at this level. So that would signify that we do have a support after breaking above this level, right? So we have support here and a potential support right there. Now, when we look at the structure right here, right at this 144, we can see just below it, we do have the anchored VWAP here from the absolute lows back in 2022. And the anchored VWAP also coincides with the 233 EMA. So there's a huge gap here below that could still cause some drawdown here to test this level. Okay, now I could make the case that wave C, we talked about a potential wave C that could materialize, but I could make the case actually that wave C has already concluded. Typically what happens is that when you have a break of trend, just like we're seeing right here, this break of trend here, what typically happens is that wave B tests the trend, the long-term trend, right? So you have wave A right there, and then you have a wave B, and then comes the wave C. Now, wave C would be much longer in this case. So if that were to happen, that we would actually find support here at the 233 EMA, then we're looking at a very shallow wave C at around 0.618 if we measure the extension from AB, right? So that would be around 0.618. But either case, if we're getting that drawdown here, we're looking for this level here, this last drawdown. That would also be a test here of wave 1 of cycle degree. And there's a lot of demand right at this level as well. But you also have the 0.618, right? So we're looking at the 233, the anchored VWAP, and the 0.618 right at this area here. So that could potentially provide that significance that, yes, maybe Bitcoin wants to gravitate towards this area before finding ultimate support. So that's basically how we view this market. And so we're watching this one step by step, day by day, to see what's happening in this market. But you can also take a look at how deeply oversold we are on the weekly as well as the daily. So I would not be surprised, in fact, if we would get a bounce right here, right at this level. We can also see that the MACD is trying to curl up here, actually above the center line as well. So we haven't broken below the center line, and the money flow indicator is also below that neutral line at 50. So we're seeing levels here that could indicate that we could get a bounce right at this level. Okay, so that's basically how we're viewing Bitcoin for now. If you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care for now.